Hello, John.
Hello, Oliver.
We're going to talk about Belfast Castle. So I was up at Belfast Castle. I was up in Belfast, actually, and Belfast is a fine city. There's a lovely market there. I think it's called George's Market. But anyway, I digressed onto Belfast Castle, and it's a very, very ornate-looking castle. And it has beautiful gardens. It's 400 feet above sea level. There was a lovely lady in there, and she gave me a tour of the castle. She gave me a walkabout. She showed me the whole lot, even though she wasn't probably supposed to. She did it. She was very obliging, and then she showed me the beautiful ornate staircase that was added at a later stage. But it has a strange and very, very mixed and sometimes brutal history, like all the places, you know.
Correct, it has.
So you're going to talk about that for me?
Yes, well, the funny thing is that any of these castles that were occupied, particularly when they were pilfered from their original owners, Irish owners, by the invader, and these kind of, I call them practically criminals, they got this business of jobs, the invader. And in one particular case, in this Belfast Castle, and it would be replicated in many a place, quite frankly, but in 1574, the owner of Belfast Castle was he was let me see just his name. He was Sir Brian McPhelim O'Neill. O'Neill is a very North name. He was the owner, and the first Earl of Essex was apparently somebody that might be in the same mindset as this this man that owned the Belfast Castle, and he invited the first Earl of Essex to a feast in Belfast Castle, and it lasted 3 days, and I presume a lot of food and drink. But after the 3 days, this first Earl of Essex was the cause of the soldiers that he had with him killing all the people that had invited him to the feast, and all the guests that were there, and the three people that owned the hut, that owned the castle, including Sir, let me see what his name is, Sir Brian McPhelim O'Neill. He and his two relative sons and that were executed in Dublin, and this was taken from them by this Essex, and subsequently the Lord Deputy of Ireland, Baron Marsham or something like that, he then also took over the castle and evicted the owners at the time, which would have been Irish. And he also did the same in Donegal with another Sir by the name of O'Doherty, which is a Donegal name, and took over the castle in Donegal in a fairly scenic place. And the same thing happened, that the owner was executed. So this is the Lord Deputy of Ireland, appointed by the invader, Britain, and so that and he was in charge of justice. So there wasn't going to be much justice for the Irish people that lived in the country and owned property. That wasn't the only place where this sort of thing happened. Castles taken off the rightful owners, and signs on people that have power always abused it somewhere along the line, and especially these ones that were appointed by the invader, and they seem to have a hatred for the local people. They didn't do any good for the country whatsoever. You might say they pilloried it. So Belfast Castle has that bad name, and it's probably now it's actually run by the Belfast City Council, and so therefore it wouldn't be it's open to the public, and the same as many a castle is open to the public in various parts of the country. But they always have this bad history, and I wouldn't like to be staying there at night time, because I'd say they'd be haunted by what happened in the vicinity and all the rest of it. Whatever any of these ones were, we don't know, for example, how many unfortunate women were abused and babies born and perhaps buried. That type of thing.
Oh, John Malone, you're adding to it now.
I'm adding to it, but quite frankly, I'm painting a picture, because that would have been something that would have happened, because these ones had no respect for anyone.
Yeah, well, that's true.
And no respect. And this is where power corrupts. What use is it if this is what you're doing? You're supposed to do good.
That's right. In
life, but these ones did bad. So I'm glad now it's open to the public, and at least one can visit it. But I'm afraid that if I visited it, I'd have to be commenting about all these matters, because I don't want any, what would I call it?
You don't want the past brushed over.
Correct, and sort of not mentioned. Unfortunately, Belfast now has a bit of peace, and it's open. It's visitors now go to it. Matter of fact, myself and my late wife Julie, we spent 3 days in it, which I was never in it in Belfast, never visited. And 3 days, and we saw quite a bit, including the Europa Hotel, which I was bombed umpteen times. Mm-hmm. And we had coffee there. We didn't have a drink, but it was a pub across the way that was often raided by the people that are not Irish in the full sense of the word. And I'm sorry I didn't visit that, because I knew all about these places. But we visited, and I don't know if you visited there, we visited the Harlan Wolff museum that they have. And we had a grand time there, and treated very well, and had a nice meal in the place. And we also visited a Knoll village that reconstructed. We got a train out to it, and it was done the way houses were, and chickens and all the rest of it. It was a marvellous experience, and we were there quite a bit. And as a matter of fact, Julie had something, and she threw out something for some of the chickens, because I never saw as many chickens running around having a go at whatever was threw out. And in the meantime, one that was working there, it turned out she was from some other jurisdiction, and usually they're as dry as sticks. They don't seem to have any sense of humour. And quite frankly, she kind of had a sour face, because we were after putting something out for the chickens. And I just hope with the green energy the chickens aren't causing any pollution in the environment. So we fed the chickens anyways, and by the time we got back to the restaurant, we only could have a sandwich, because we were so long going around this, that, and the other in this village. It's called something. We got the train out to it. It wasn't that far. And so we saw the village, and then there was some kind of a museum about something else somewhere else, just on the same stretch. Lovely experience. And so we did like Belfast, but we were still careful where we went, and we did go into the city as well and experience the city to see what it was like. And we found people that we met very helpful.
Very good.
Funny enough, so we did have a good experience for a few days. Try to see as much as you can. I think that's always a good idea, to see as much as you can. Did you see anything more than when you were up there, other than Belfast Castle?
One thing that really stuck out in Belfast is the amount of expensive cars. So I seen Ferrari, I seen Lamborghini, Rolls-Royce, Bentley, within 15 minutes of entering Belfast.
Fantastic.
Okay, and you don't see those type of cars as much in Ireland, and it's because of our tax system. Okay,
Correct.
so if you buy a Lamborghini for 400 grand over in the UK, I don't know what the tax rate is, but it's a fraction.
They had two taxes as a fraction. They had tax that was quite reasonable on big cars and lower tax, and the tax wasn't high at all. And funny enough, the insurance wasn't high, as high as it is here. Because we seem to have a problem here with exorbitant insurance prices, and the price of cars with the VRT, vehicle registration tax. For that's what it is, because when you hear short words like VRT, you think, hope somebody hasn't perhaps passed wind with the VRT.
Sweet Lord John Malone. So, keep it clean, will you please?
So I'm just saying like that. You saw that, so that means they're prosperous. So this business of having the best of both worlds, with access to the EU and access to the British market, and they're on the pig's back. And
this is the thing, you know, and the thing is, I went into George's Market. I don't know if you know George's Market in Belfast, and it's really, really lovely. You've got all these arts and crafts people that make things and sell them. Something that you don't see very much now in Dublin City anymore, right?
No, you don't.
And I came across this lovely man who sold me a musical. It was basically a manuscript of music turned into a lampshade. His wife makes them.
Fantastic.
And I bought a few items there that were handmade leather goods. I bought a lovely leather bag, handmade Italian leather bag for work.
And how much was that?
And that was 165.
Gee, it's not too bad.
Oh, that was very good for the bag itself.
Oh God, yes, powerful.
You know, and so I bought quite a lot of items inside in that little market, and I just thought, you know what?
Well, the fact that there was such good stuff in the market.
Oh, the top quality.
Yeah, well, we could do with something like that here or in different parts, because we have such great amenities and what have you. I often wonder why in all these lovely monasteries and places where people lived and all the rest of it, and all the monuments, the holy wells, that we haven't got guides, particularly in the summertime, because people are going to these places and there's no information. There's often a sign saying the public works or something. There's nothing to tell you what it's all about. And I think that's a great loss. I noticed when I visited places in France particularly, they always had guides. Now, it cost you maybe a few euros or whatever it was at the time, but they had you got the information, and sometimes they had it in the different language and they'd have it in English. Now, mind you, you didn't get too many that spoke in English, so you were a slight bit of a disadvantage. But I think we should have that here in all these famous sites that we have in the holy wells and the pilgrim paths and all the rest of it. So, funny enough, when you were talking about Belfast Castle, but we were digressed, and my opinion is that I'm not that fond of visiting castles because of the history,
the brutality,
and that type of thing.
Yeah, well, there you go, John Malone. So look, we'll do our next round of videos shortly, and I think we've brought a nice bit of joy to people with the beaches and all the different things, and you know,
I think so.
Yeah.
And it's a great thing to speak about such great amenities that the country has. This even in Wicklow, because Wicklow is quite a scenic with the mountains and that. The second highest mountain is there, Lugnaquilla. Carrauntoohil in Kerry is the highest mountain in the country, and then of course the Shannon is the longest river, not alone in this country but I think in the British Isles. So we have a few little nuggets up our sleeve, and this is what the Christian TV Ireland project, if it comes to pass, will be supporting. We'll be supporting the pilgrim paths and the marvellous history attached to the country and the marvellous sites, and we'll be encouraging guides, and they should be paid some remuneration, but it could be older folk that have the time, but it could be also younger people that are interested in that type of thing, and many a one is. And look at the information, look at the tourists could be attracted, because this is what tourists want, especially now that they're sort of seeking answers, and they're visiting other countries where there's these spiritual pilgrimages and all the rest of it. So this is something that we'll be developing.
This is the thing, John Malone. We will continue to bring the good news.
Yes, well, the good news is in sharp supply. No point in looking at the media and expecting good news. No, the Christian TV Ireland project, that'll be where you get good news.
Thank you very much, John.
Thank you very much, Oliver. I always try to